Welcome to Sunday Night Small Talk. I'm Hegemony, and today we'll be talking about three things: the wave of Pibby corruption mods, how important theming is to a mod, and how crossovers impact the community. Three short and fun topics.
So, Pibby corruption mods have been pretty popular nowadays. They sort of become the new Sad Mouse or Suicide Mouse recreations that we talked about last time. At first, I actually thought they were kind of cool, seeing people take this really cool, basically the trailer for the series, seeing that and hey, let's make them into Friday Night Funkin' mods. I thought that was actually a pretty fun concept, and, seeing all of the different characters with different designs and in my opinion, pretty okay sounding songs for the most part. That was pretty cool to see. But then as time went on, I feel like people who were creating these mods were starting to ring themselves out on the concept. I started seeing them use video game characters and even other Friday Night Funkin' characters. I saw one for Garcello, which was very weird, and his mouth was stretched open like it was in Photoshop. They used his regular mouth that was in the original mod and just stretched it out in Photoshop, and that was not good. Just over time, it started to get a little bit bland and also started to stray away from the original concept of the show, and now I'm starting to see a lot of the flaws in it. It reminds me too much of when people would take seemingly innocent characters from cartoons back in the 2010s era, most popularly Pinkie Pie, and they would make it super edgy and, oh, she's got straight hair, a psychotic smile, murdering all her friends. Then a whole lot of people do a whole bunch of fan art, fan games, stuff like that, and then the concept just becomes stale and not interesting anymore. And that's the same thing happening with the Pibby corruption mods.
Personally, I think that the Pibby mods were pretty mid to alright from the start. I don't really think that any of them were really groundbreaking in what they were doing. Now the first ones, they were pretty fun. I must admit, going off the trailers and stuff, they did take some pretty good decisions, some pretty good designs and stuff like that. But honestly, yeah, I have to agree on the fact that as time continued, they just wrung out the towel until it was just like a damp cloth and there wasn't any drips coming out of it. Again, from the start, the best I could say was that they were just alright. They never really were good. There weren't really any groundbreaking things. Some of them didn't even include any gimmick notes or anything like that. And it was just kind of there for the entertainment value of, oh, funny game character go. But yeah, I just thought personally it was just kind of boring from the start. The already dripping towel wrung itself out into oblivion.
Yeah, I definitely agree. These Pibby mods, it's just way too many. It's the Suicide Mouse thing all over again, basically. My problem is it's a big loss of inspiration just seeing all the same mods being copy pasted all over and over again. Pibby corruption to this character, Pibby corruption to that character. And it seems like with the more people that do it, the more mid it gets. Not just because I've seen it a million times, but because the people doing it are probably less experienced than the people who did it first, because they're seeing it and they're trying to jump on the wave even though they may not be as experienced. And there's nothing wrong with that, but again, same thing we explained in the Suicide Mouse video, you're better off just doing something else or taking it and trying your best to transform it into something more unique. So, not a huge fan of these Pibby mods, not much inspiration, kind of just a boring era. I mean, there's not that too many, there's not too many now, but you still see the odd one come out and it's, not the best thing in the world. So I think that theme is incredibly important in a mod. I mean, obviously you can have smaller mods with less overarching themes or giant stories in them, but I still think that theme can be put into means through different ways, even if it's just dialogue or the characters interacting with the world around them. I think theme is incredibly important in mods, especially with mods that are like crossovers. Boyfriend and girlfriend, they need to interact with the world around them. Even if it's just a mod that's not a crossover and it's just an original character that's in the Friday Night Funkin' universe, I still think theme is incredibly important for me actually engaging with a mod. I can watch a million mods about a random guy who they find on the street and they just decide to rap battle, but when there's then a theme, maybe this character is known for something and he's got a nice personality, he, she, whatever, they've got a nice personality to them that actually makes you attached to the character, and there's somewhat of a world around them that's somewhat built. That's kind of what I want in a mod, just something that's interesting rather than mods which have absolutely no dialogue at all and just throw at you a couple songs and stuff.
Considering Friday Night Funkin's storytelling style, it kind of gets limited in how you want to present it. Like, you have some really good story-based ones, like as mentioned before in some older mod reviews, like you have Entity and Shaggy. You know, the way that they presented their stories, that had a lot to do with the theming and the world building. And I think theme to a mod is really important to help with its storytelling and its world building in Friday Night Funkin' style. Because, like, you can't really make a comic for it. You can't really make well-made cutscenes and long animations and stuff. Because, like, you know, when it comes down to it, the gameplay is just tapping a bunch of buttons until you win a song, you know. So you kind of have to keep it in that concise, small, and quick style, while at the same time being able to balance out the amount of world building and creativity you actually put into it. And yeah, I have to agree. That's like why I think why theming is actually really important to a mod. Again, you say that like there are smaller mods that may not need as much, and maybe they're just built for entertainment value and stuff like that. But you know, even then, even if it's just like, you know, like Garcello or something, where it was just this really nice guy who died in front of you and stuff like that, that was small. But like, think about it, he's one of the biggest characters in the entire fandom right now because of just the amount of like love and care and personality coming out of just this one small character. The building around it that really helps to make you actually interested in a mod.
In addition to how a story is told in a mod, the background, the tones of the songs, and the general design of the characters work really well into themes. Like for Garcello, he's like put in this back alley, and he's a very sketchy looking guy at the very first song. But then as the songs go on, animations change, more of the smoke comes up, he turns into a ghost, and it becomes more tragic in a way, since it started off as this random bum in the alley, but then you realize he's actually kind of a chill guy who doesn't really want to hurt people. He's just stuck with an addiction, and it sort of makes his death in a alleyway after battling some random kid with his girlfriend bobbing in the background. It just makes it a lot more tragic, and therefore makes his death more impactful, especially in the last song, Fading, was it? But in the last song, where the sun is rising and he slowly fades away into oblivion while smiling down at boyfriend, all of those aspects of the theme with the backgrounds, the setting, the songs, and the overall tones of the characters work really well to convey certain emotions in the players and make them care about characters. And through this, Garcello has become a very popular character, and also one of my favorite Friday Night Funkin' characters that was made. I want to give him burgers!
Yeah, I see what you mean with whole, like, his songs. He starts off with a really, like, low tone, raspy voice. He gets more raspy within the second song, and then when he dies, his voice becomes a lot more clear. Like, something as subtle as that really carries it a lot.
I ball my eyes out every fucking time.
So, crossover mods, there's a lot of them in Friday Night Funkin'. In fact, they happen every other day. People take a character from a movie or a game or whatever and turn it into a Friday Night Funkin' mod. If it's relatively well known, there's probably going to be a mod about it. But I want to know you guys' thoughts. Do you think there's too many, too little? Do you think they're bad for the community or good for the community? Because personally, I think that there's somewhat not enough, but like they still are pretty good for the community because it's actually people taking their favorite piece of media and converting it into something completely else, putting their own spin on things and just getting creative with it, if you know what I mean.
As somebody who has really enjoyed following media where like maybe two different video games or movies, like the characters come into the same universe and interact, I've always loved that as a kid. Just seeing how the characters interact, how their stories join together, what new conflicts or solutions come in their interaction, and seeing people like take their favorite video games, movies, and other forms of media and turning them into Friday Night Funkin' mods, and even sometimes taking two characters, probably most likely from other mods, and putting them together in one mod. I absolutely adore it because it lets people go freaking wild with all the different ideas and concepts that they can do in terms of like what the conflict is, what the theme is going to be, how the characters interact with each other within their songs or with dialogue, and it really gets me excited as somebody who is very, very character driven when it comes to media. So seeing a whole bunch of mods based off of certain things, or even having different mods and characters clashing together into one mod, is really freaking cool to see.
Being in the same shoes as Snazzles, being into like fandom culture for a very long time, I've seen and been part of some like crossover ideas and stuff like that. And I think that with the modding scene in Friday Night Funkin' being the ability to basically put anything into a mod, like if you can think it, you can do it. One of my favorite things I've ever done is kind of in this sort of nature where you take this one thing that you really enjoy and you put your own twist on it, and you'd see how it would like function in this sort of universe or that this sort of style and stuff like that. For example, like personally, I really enjoy making boss battle concepts and stuff like that. This kind of has that similar concept where it's a one-to-one enemy type thing. You know, of course you have your differences. I really enjoy that sort of idea, and this is exactly the type of thing that I absolutely love. Now, I have to agree on the fact that I don't think there's enough that actually stand out. It's kind of a double-edged sword, because on the one side where you get these amazing well-crafted mods that fit absolutely amazingly into the Funkin' style, like the Madness combat mods and stuff like that, you get quite a lot that really can have a lot more creativity. For example, the Springtrap mod I think could have a lot potential to it. Like for example, I'm currently building my own concept down for a Five Nights at Freddy's 3 based mod, where it has things to do with like the actual ventilation shafts and all those going down, stuff like that, and using those as like gimmick carriers and stuff. But that'll probably come in like a future SNST or something. There's some mods which can actually have a lot more potential and a lot more work put into them to make them their own amazing crossover type mods. And even then, we have some that are like crossovers of crossovers and stuff, like indie stuff like that. Seeing those just show even more potential for the future, and the ability to revive old forgotten topics and stuff, giving them some new life and breathing in some fresh air into them, really brings a good amount of playability to old things that we may have never even seen again if Friday Night Funkin' Mods didn't pick them up. Just as one last thing, example, like I said, Madness Combat. We all saw the amount of pickup that it got after the Tricky mod gave to it. You know, now Project Nexus, the new version was released, and a lot more people getting into the fandom. Like myself, for example, I rediscovered it through Friday Night Funkin'. It gives these old things the new air that they deserve and the new fandoms that they deserve. And yes, honestly, I know that I went on for a bit long, but it's just for the fact that I think this concept of crossover mods is really, really cool.
Yeah, I agree with you definitely 100%. I think that's what I was trying to say earlier, but I didn't really say it properly. There's not enough ones that stand out. That's the best way to put it right now.
But, you know, when you get the right minds, the right creators together, you can make some really cool shit.
100%. Thanks for tuning in to the 4th episode of Sunday Night Small Talk. The next mod review will be my own solo review on a very well-known explosives device with a bad temper. If that clue isn't big enough to what the mod is, then I don't know what is. Either way, we hope you enjoyed this video, so don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, get a second account, and do it again. Goodbye, people.
Subscribe or else.